Welcome to Movie Talk here on KWDC 93.5 Delta College Radio. I'm your host, Paul Bestolarides, and I'm here with my co-host, Mark Larks. And today we have an interview with two special guests who are a part of our upcoming feature-length film titled The Hotlands. So let's get to know these strangers.
Hi. Hello.
I'm not in the movie, but I do have a question. First off, since we're talking about you guys being involved in this new feature-length movie by Mr. B, how'd you guys wind up with Paul? Like, how'd you guys find each other? I'm just curious.
Audrey, do you want to go first?
Okay. Well, if I'm being honest, I don't remember how we ended up being friends on Facebook, but we were, and we followed each other on Instagram. And then I guess that's just how we connected. And then I saw the casting call on SAC Casting. And then at one point he did message me on Instagram about the project. And I guess that's when we first connected.
Paul posted a casting notice on Backstage, the casting website. And I get a lot of my work from Backstage and from Actors Access because I'm a champion of independent film.
Nice.
So I saw it, I applied, I auditioned, and that's how I got the part. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That was just my first curious question was how you guys hooked up, because I haven't talked to Paul in a few months now. So, I would have asked him straight up, but since I had both of you here, it just popped in my head, like, how do the roads converge? That's it. So, Mr. B, you want to go first? You want to ask a question? Since I asked mine right out of the gate, why don't you go ahead?
So what inspirational movie made you want to get into acting, or what made you want to study movies?
So, I've wanted to be an actor since I was 3. It was just one of those things where I just felt like I was born to do it. So it wasn't movies that made me want to get into acting. And I actually started in theater. So I started my professional career doing a lot of Shakespeare, actually.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah. And in high school, I wanted to do a lot of Shakespeare. So I did actually start in theater, and I trained in theater, and then I got into film. So it wasn't so much inspiration from movies that made me want to do it. It was just one of those things where I graduated from drama school and I started acting, and I booked much more camera than I did stage. And go figure, I'm better on camera than I am on stage, and I enjoy doing camera more than I enjoy doing stage. So it wasn't like a handful of films that I saw. It was just the love for acting, the love for becoming someone else and telling stories and getting to know kind of the human soul and psyche, and that's what it was for me.
Now, I have a question about, so you just mentioned that you kind of transitioned from theater to film. You went to a couple of heavy hitting drama schools.
Yeah.
Did the transition occur there? Or was it something there that made you kind of want to shift, or did that just happen as a product of being an actress?
It was a product of being an actress. So there, the schools, so I went to 2 different drama schools in England, and that's where I studied theater. And that training was mostly theater. And I finished and I auditioned for a lot of theater. And I didn't book so much theater, but camera, I was booking camera. So it happened as in my professional career. It just kind of happened to me. It came at me as opposed to me making that decision. And then one day it was like, wow, I really love this way more than I ever loved theater. And they're different. I mean, they're different. I still love theater so much in a very different way. But do I prefer film? Absolutely.
I'm kind of with Natasha. It wasn't really any single film that got me interested in it. I had always kind of been curious about what it would be like to be an actor. And I would never have admitted this to myself, but in middle school and elementary school, I was always really jealous of the kids who were in theater. But I was really shy all the time. So it wasn't until my junior year of high school that I finally got up the courage to audition. And then it was my senior year of high school that I finally started figuring out that this is something that I could actually see myself doing. It was something that I was really passionate about and that I spent, 24 hours a day thinking about. Ultimately, that's really kind of where it got started for me.
How did you deal with being shy and overcoming that to go ahead and follow what you were curious and wanted to try out, which is acting? Like, that's got to be a big barrier to have, this passion inside of you, but then have this, shyness and this timidity. How did you overcome that?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I'm still shy. Like I'm still scared right now. But, I don't even know. I just remember my friend was gonna go audition, and so I was like, okay, I'll just go with her. I didn't actually get cast. I wasn't very good. But I don't know. I guess I just got tired of thinking about it. And so I just figured I'd try it. I didn't get cast, but one of the girls dropped out, so I got her role after that. But I think that was good because I got my first no that way. So the worst thing that could happen happened.
Gotcha. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and then I just kind of learned how to deal with it.
Awesome. Now, have you guys seen any films along the way that made you realize like this is the right choice I've made? Like, yeah, I knew I wanted to be an actress, but now that I see this film and see what this person's done or see what can be done, I know I made the right choice. Was it for you? Audrey's shaking and nodding her head yes. So what was it for you?
Yeah, for me, it was The Edge of 17. I love that movie because it deals with such heavy topics, but it's also incredibly entertaining. And I love when movies can do that because one of the things that drew me to film is just how much empathy it takes from the filmmakers and from the actors and from the audience. So you can really help people see things from a new perspective and understand people who you maybe wouldn't be able to understand otherwise. But I like that movie in particular because it's one that I feel like I can keep going back to watch. And it's not too emotionally draining, but it's real enough that when I watch it, I can be like, wow, I get what it would be like to be in her shoes. And I love movies that can do that.
That's awesome. That's a great film too.
Yeah,
I can see how that would be a movie that you could latch onto. So now what was your confirmation movie, Natasha?
So they're not so much confirmation movies, but movies where, so I have two, like movies where, so one of them is Beautiful with Javier Bardem.
Yes.
But yeah. And for me, it wasn't like, oh, this is why we want to be an actor, but just his performance in that was, I mean, to this day is one of the best things I've ever seen. And that was very, like just inspiring, just very, very inspiring. And then my other movie, and this is, it's because this character is like a character that I went, oh, I mean, like, this is the kind of thing I want to do. I love to play kind of, I don't know how to say this, effed up women, like women who are,
broken,
black, broken, disturbed, disturbed. That's a good word. Black Swan actually was a big one for me. I was in drama school at the time when it came out, and I went to see it in theaters like 3 times. And that for me was very, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of characters that I love. And it just really hit me hard at the time. So that was a big one for me, those two. They came out around the same time, actually.
Well, that's right. They did. In fact, if you guys are hanging around on set, Mr. B has a great Black Swan story if you want to ask him. That's for another conversation. Mr. B, you want to kick off another question?
Well, yeah, Mark, I'm kind of curious about your inspirational movie that made you want to just study films.
Oh boy. I was watching films when I was a kid, just whatever was on HBO. Like when we got cable, that was a huge deal. And I don't know, for a long time, it was just, I like just to be entertained by stuff. I think it wasn't until I got into high school and I had an English teacher who was also a media teacher. And he did a whole class on films and film studies and kind of showed me how to evaluate a film the way you would evaluate a novel. And things to look for and things that, a director would do similar to what an author would do on the page, a director would do on the screen. And I was so intrigued by that idea that for the longest time, even up to today, if I want to just brainlessly watch something and not think about it, I have to literally make an effort to shut off that part of me that wants to scrutinize and look for everything in the film, all its details. And I think for me, it's really hard to pick one movie. But I think the first time I really got obsessed with a film was Citizen Kane when I watched it in high school. That one just, every other scene, I remember sitting after school, coming into that teacher's class to talk to him about Citizen Kane, and we would watch it, and every couple of scenes he'd stop it and show me something that Wells had done and, tell me about the techniques that were revolutionary, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that was the first film I remember being kind of obsessed about, as far as the filmmaking process, and then making me want to watch films in a way that I'd never watched them before. So I'm not sure if that's inspirational or not, but I think that's the closest I can get to answering that question.
No, I think.
What about you, Mr. B? What made you want to go and be behind the camera and win awards and stuff?
I always loved movies growing up, and it didn't matter if the movie was in black and white or Technicolor. I just loved any kind of story. I saw Star Wars Episode 1 in theaters, and that's when I was like, wow, like, how did they shoot this movie? And I think at one point I asked my mom, I said, did they film this movie in space? And I was kind of like a dumb 10-year-old at the time. And she said, of course not. And then I was like, well, where did they shoot it? And she's like, I don't know. So I think at that time I was like, wow, whoever made this movie had this imagination that was just so amazing.
Oh, by the way to make me feel old there, because you said when you were a kid you watched Episode 1. I was going to correct you and be like, oh, you mean Episode 4, because I saw Episode 4 as a kid. Thanks for reminding me that I'm old. So what kind of roles, now, Natasha, you said you like to play the broken characters. Typically, is that the kind of role you look for, or just the kind of ones that you enjoy the most? Do you turn down a role if you think the character is not messed up enough?
No, I'll turn down a role if the writing is bad. I mean, for me, the most fascinating part of acting is getting to understand people that are totally, like, going into someone's mind like that, who is totally perverse, and empathizing with them, creating a backstory and seeing, like, why did someone become that way? Doing that kind of psychological work for me is why I love acting. And then telling the story, we get to play pretend for a living, but I'll play anything. And I love kind of diversifying and playing lots of different characters. I'd say that characters that are a little more naughty or broken are I'm better at. I have a penchant towards that. I don't know what that says about me.
I was just going to say that, but I'm glad you took the words out of my mouth, so I didn't come across looking like I was saying something bad. So, okay, good.
But I think though, just because I empathize with it, I've done so many of them, so it comes more naturally just because I've been working on that for years. But I love to play other things. I play kind of the ingenue a lot and Girl Next Door, and I'm happy to do that as long as the writing is good. And I'm working with
so there really
not
isn't
crazy.
a role. There isn't a role that you wouldn't that you would refuse as long as the character's interesting and the writing's good.
I'm
okay.
Well, like, I wouldn't do full frontal nudity. There are things like that.
Right.
That I wouldn't. It's just nudity that I wouldn't.
Yeah,
do.
I would imagine there always going to be some kind of limitation or restriction as to how far you'll go.
Yeah.
How far, not you, I meant you universally, how far one will go when it comes to their craft. And, everybody's got a line, I think. But yeah, I was just curious about the kinds of characters. And like you said, as long as they're interesting and they have something that you can delve into, it sounds like your game.
Right. And that's the whole joy of being an actor, is you get to explore the whole spectrum of life. So
you just reminded me, when you were talking about the getting inside and trying to understand how a character would work, reminded me of, when I saw The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. And I walked out of the theater going, oh my God, that was amazing. I forgot it was Heath Ledger. I couldn't believe it. And then I read that, he literally locked himself in a hotel room for like a month and tried to imagine what this guy would be like, and wrote a journal out, the kind of perverse things that the Joker character would find entertaining, and really try to become that person, which I thought was broken in and of itself. And that's kind of going a little, little far for your craft, but I mean, you see the performance that came out of that. So
Right.
I think there definitely is something to be said for taking a character that most people could not understand in the real world and making that character come alive on the screen as an actor or an actress. So maybe to answer your question, what does it say about you? Maybe it just says that, you are the conduit for what most mainstream people would never get to experience in real life. You get to put it up on screen for us to kind of live vicariously through you.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of thinking about it. I love that.
Oh, great. You go ahead and steal
Yeah.
it. It's yours.
Well, I think we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will further discuss our new feature-length film. All right, everyone.
Did you know that KWDC can now be heard worldwide? You can now catch us anytime and anywhere in the world by downloading the free Radio FX app, available from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. It's simple. Once you've downloaded the app, search for our call letters KWDC and favorite us. In the app, along with hearing our content 24/7, you can interact with us live by messaging us, participating in polls, find our social media accounts, and even find our station number to call and speak to our hosts live. It's simple and it's fun. You'll always be able to find us at 93.5 here at Delta College, but now you can take us with you on the go, anywhere. Remember to tell all your friends about us. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting Delta College Radio.
As a parent, you can't help but look at your child and wonder what the future holds. You may dream about the possibility of your son or daughter becoming a professional athlete or a renowned heart surgeon. But while you're dreaming, consider this. The odds of your child being diagnosed with autism is 1 in 68. Knowing the signs of autism and addressing it early can make the world of difference to your child and you. Learn the signs. Visit autismspeaks.org, brought to you by the Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You can help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases like COVID-19, the coronavirus disease. One of the many ways is simple: washing your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces, covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze with a tissue. Then remember to throw it in the trash. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. And also, stay home when you are sick, except to get medical care. For more information, you can go to www.cdc.gov/COVID-19.
Welcome back to KWDC 93.5 Delta College Radio. I'm Paul Bestolarides, aka Mr. B, and I'm here with the host, Mark Larks.
Hello, hello.
And this is Movie Talk, and we have two lovely guests today, Audrey and Natasha. So we were discussing, I guess we're kind of asking personal questions about what made us interested in just movies in general and what kind of characters really attract us. But Mark, I think I'm going to have you take it from here with the questions.
So Audrey, isn't it true? I'm going to put you on the stand now. No. Isn't it true that you got into film because you want to play certain characters?
Yeah, that's pretty true.
All right. I'm leading the witness. No. So what kind of characters do you prefer playing? Since you got into this because you wanted to portray other characters, other personas on screen or in theater, what characters do you look for?
I look for the tough characters. I guess kind of going back to one of the previous questions, I've always loved the Hunger Games. So if I can find a character that's kind of like Katniss, I'll totally audition for it.
I can see you doing that. You have that vibe.
Thank you. I actually usually, though, get cast as the mean girl or like the mean daughter. I'm not really sure why, but I guess I'm good at that.
You do look like you have that kind of innocent smile. I don't know that's going to be, putting people off. Learn how to scowl and you'll be fine. There you go. That's it. There you go. Right there. So you look for the kind of the bad or the tough characters, the ones that can handle their self and take care of business. are there any roles that you would not take? Like if you look at a role that's the antithesis of that, the opposite of the, the rough and tumble character, does that turn you off? Are you just not interested?
No, there aren't really any roles that I would turn down for the character. I would turn it down though if the film has a lot of really crude jokes. I did take on a couple projects at the beginning of my career, and looking back, I'm like, I probably wouldn't do that again now. They were fun, but it's just really not my style to have a lot of crude humor. And I also wouldn't take on a role that like bashes any type of person, especially in humor, because I definitely see that a lot in comedy,
right?
And I'm just not cool with that. So those are the only things I think that I would turn down.
Well, and like I mentioned earlier, everybody has a limit that they're not willing to go past. And, you got to stay strong to that, be true to who you are, as a person, not only as an artist. So it's understandable. So, but both of you guys are working with Mr. B on his new feature film. And Mr. B, we want to tell us a little bit about that for those listening and who may not be following you on social media. And if you're not, I don't know why you're not. You need to follow Mr. B on social media. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. So, but can you tell us a little bit about the film?
So our film is titled The Hotlands. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where everything is burned and two sisters struggle to survive. They come across a stranger who lives in this green area, a mysterious place where everything is alive, and their relationships are tested. And that's all I can reveal about the film at this time. But tune in for more episodes and I will tell you more about our filmmaking endeavors. So we are still in pre-production. I'm just finishing the second revision of the script. And I think I'm pretty much still casting for the other side characters.
Okay.
And yeah, we're moving along here. It's a bit slower with COVID.
I was going to say, I'm sure COVID's kind of messed things up for everybody.
Yeah, I think I've learned how to work through that. So I think we're on schedule with everything. And it's kind of exciting because we're working with the Cal Fire Department.
Oh, wow.
We're trying to get a controlled burn on set. So the set will literally be on fire for one of the scenes in the film. So I think right now it's exciting to just collaborate with them and scheduling all of that.
Has that been kind of an ordeal? I know a lot of times, especially in California, a lot of red tape.
Surprisingly, no.
Oh,
right
cool.
Now. We know a guy he's like a fire chief in the county we were thinking about shooting in.
Okay.
And so we're all kind of communicating because they do these controlled fires before the actual fires occur later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just kind of pinpointing what kind of controlled fire will it be? Are we going to burn a building? Are we going to burn fields? And so we're just kind of narrowing things down at this point.
Wow. Okay. Well, good luck on that because I know California is a little, even though you know a guy, which doesn't surprise me, you know everybody. I know a guy, a friend of a friend who does this, and I'm like, Mr. B, you get around, man. But even if you know a guy, I'm sure California can be a little gun shy about fires with the recent history they've had. But what about the characters you guys are playing? So Natasha, what's your character all about in Mr. B's film?
So Mr. B, how much am I allowed to say?
You can briefly describe your character.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
we don't need to know too many details of the script, but just okay, I'll ask a better question. What attracted you to this character? Because we already know you like broken characters. Is she broken?
that I can't. That's the part I can't tell you.
Okay, dang it. Okay.
But so my character and her sister Nell have been living in this post-apocalyptic world for a couple of years, right, Paul?
Several years. Mm-hmm.
Several years, and our parents are dead. The father is not really mentioned, but our mother died of this illness that she had, and Nell has the same illness. So I've been taking care of Nell and keeping us alive in this burnt world. And we meet this stranger, And I'm totally skeptical of him. I'm skeptical of everyone because everyone in this world is, there's this strange cult that's trying, like that's burning all the forests down and who attack people. So, where I'm very skeptical of him. I think that he wants to kill us or use us for something. I just do not trust this man. So there's a lot of animosity there. And there's a little bit of friction between me and my sister. So that's where I'll leave it. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
But she's really strong. She's a cool girl. I like her. She's a good character. Right. I'm very excited.
What about you, Audrey? Can you give us a little glimpse into your character without revealing, no spoilers now?
Yeah, I was actually this character is like the opposite of what I usually look for. But I really was interested because Nella's really sweet and she's very creative. She is a writer. And what I liked about it was that just the idea that even when, the world is in chaos, that artists are still there and they're still trying to make their mark on the world, because art is a really powerful thing. And
Absolutely.
it really can do a lot to change the way that people see the world and can help people through a lot of really tough times. And that's just, I think, really what drew me to her, is just the fact that she's an artist in the middle of chaos. And then, the story is really interesting too, but I think that's really the thing that hooked me on her at the beginning.
I can see you doing a lot with a character like that. An artist being plunged into a desolate environment. There's a lot that can be said with a character like that. And Mr. B is a great storyteller, so I'm sure he's done his craft well with this movie.
Unfortunately, Mark, I will have to cut you off because we are out of time. But join us again, everyone, for part 2 in learning more about our feature film and getting to know these actors. All right, everyone. Movie Talk has been a production of KWDC 93.5 LPFM Delta College Radio. This program is made possible by listeners like you. Programming is produced by the students, staff, and faculty of San Joaquin Delta College's Radio and Television Department. It is supported by the Delta College's Department of Communication and Fine Arts, the Career Technical Education and Workforce Development Office, and the state of California. Thank you for listening, and feel free to join us for part 2.